Right, here we go. Nighttime at noon on the third day of January 2022. Happy New Year, everyone. Dave Gosher, Derek Englund with you, coming from our Studio 31 downtown Summerlin at City National Arena, also on Fox Sports Las Vegas as well. Twitter, Twitch, the YouTubes, the Facebooks. Everyone watching that evidently too here, Derek. So first off, Happy New Year. How were the holidays? Did you get any presents at all? Any gifts?
Yeah, I got a couple things.
You did?
Yeah,
Anything?
I got a nice Garmin watch for working out.
Wow.
So,
Good for you.
Went up to the mountains with the side-by-side. My wife got me a fire starter kit just in case the lighter breaks, and the lighter broke. So
No way.
it came in really handy for the boys to warm them up in the snow.
So you got some presents. Have you been? So I'm always curious when guys retire, right? You've had to stay in shape. I don't know, since the time you were in junior, right? Do you try to maintain some level of fitness, or do you say the heck with it for a little while and then get back on the horse?
For me, I always, after a season, I'm going to take 2 weeks off. You last 4 days, and it's like I feel terrible. I need to get in the gym and just do something. And it's kind of the same now. I'll take a weekend off, and I try to work out hard during the week and kind of stay in somewhat shape. And, I go to Orange Theory, and that's been it's huge. You go in for an hour, you burn like 800,000 calories, go home, and it's eat what you want type thing.
Yeah,
So
try to keep
nice.
it even.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's great. Well, the Golden Knights, it's been a busy stretch for them. It's going to get busier here. They're in the midst of this homestand. It was supposed to be a 6-gamer. Turns out it's going to be 8 now with the postponement of the trip to Calgary and Edmonton. Coming off a loss last night in overtime to the Winnipeg Jets. So just curious to get your thoughts, Derek. What you've seen from this team here, this stretch where they had a long road trip east, swept that, came back home and a couple of games postponed, but maybe just, they're not quite halfway through the year, but closing in on it and what you've seen here as of late.
As of late, I think I think if you go back when all the injuries were happening, I said if they can be at All-Star break, floating that 500 and, at Christmas, they're well above that. So they're ahead of my schedule. I thought guys coming back around All-Star break and that last push in the season, they'd be good, but they're well ahead of that. They're scoring goals, plenty of goals to win games. The only thing I think, and if you ask any of them, they're going to want to clean up a little bit defensively and keep the puck out of their net, give their goalies a little bit more help in their zone. But that'll come. Playoff hockey tightens up no matter who's playing. So it's just good to get the guys back out there, and guys are playing on the same line for more than one game. Went through a month and a half where it was new guys on every line, so it's that's tough to switch and not get that chemistry.
When you look at it, and I know every team deals with injury and every team's dealt with COVID here too. It is amazing though when you look at it, the high end guys they had out, and it's happening again, right? With Pacioretty out, long term. Pete DeBoer said don't plan on him for a month. Mark Stone, I'll give you a quick update. The Golden Knights just wrapped up practice, and it was good to see Mark Stone on the ice, right, with a non-contact red jersey on, but out there with the team. You've got Robin Lehner, who practiced with the team today for the first time since he was injured. The fact they're where they're at, I kind of shake my head sometimes because they could have been down the drain early or even, start 1-4, not good. Managed to kind of keep afloat, and go on good runs. How do you think they've been able to do it with so many key people out of their lineup?
I think the depth that they have, it shows the depth that they have down in for Henderson. Jake Lecision, Rongberg coming up, and they didn't seem like they were out of place at all.
Yeah.
Any of those guys that came up and played, they played big roles, killed penalties. They were out against, didn't matter who. They weren't worried about when they were on the ice, and sometimes it's good to get that during the season. Those guys never played before, getting their first games and stuff. Paul Cotter, those guys, and come playoff time, you're going to need a lot more than just the 23 guys you got on the roster. So having those guys get their first games in, know what they can do. If something happens, come that stretch leading into playoffs and in playoffs, you're not worried about putting these guys in the lineup in their first game. They'll come fit right in. They know the guys, and it makes that transition a little easier.
They haven't had all year, save for the season opener, right? The Seattle game. They haven't had their whole lineup all year. I mean, the one you would envision, right, with your top 12 forwards, your top 60, and both goalies. Stone and Pacioretty get hurt the second game of the year. They miss significant time. Carlson gets hurt, misses significant time. It's worth mentioning, you haven't seen Alec Martinez, right, in a month and a half. And, you want to say last year he was their best defenseman in the regular year. Pietrangelo was great in the playoffs. He's an enormous part of what they do back there, right? And you haven't seen him. So it's Nick Hague's missed now a few games. And maybe every team goes through it, but we have such a close view of what the Golden Knights have gone through. It's amazing to me. Somebody like Chandler Stevenson didn't have his normal wingers for, I don't know, a month and a half. Didn't matter to him much. He continues to produce. So I think, and that's part of it too, to your point of guys coming up from Henderson, other guys coming in, they take a Matteo off the waiver wire. He's gotten better as he's gone on. Janmark seems to be finding his game. Nick Waz emerged. I think they were looking for some more offense from him. So you were in that locker room a long time, Derek. I guess do you not get too preoccupied with who's not in the lineup? I guess you can't think about that. You just focus on who you have.
Yeah, you just worry about who's in the locker room that day. It's one of those things. Your team's healthy, or it seems like everyone's hurt in the same year. In Pittsburgh we had it. Calgary here, they're going through it this year. But you can't. A guy like me, it took me 7 years to finally get my shot, and you need those opportunities. You need guys getting injured for you to come up and show what you have. So for those young guys, it's a great experience, learning curve. For me, myself, I got 9 games that first season, then got sent down, never called up again that year. But it changed my mind, like my aspect of summer work and dialing it in even more so I could make the team. So it's a good thing for those young guys to get a taste of it, and it's good for the team too. Like I said, they're not worried when they come up and put them in. But you were talking Martinez. He's such a, I think with him out, he's just such a calming factor back there. He's like the dad of the decor. He's not even that old, but he's like the dad. He's just so calming out there. He does everything good, and I think with him out there blocking shots, sacrificing, more guys do it, because they're seeing he's putting his body on the line every single shift. It's contagious. Everyone else wants to do the same thing. So I'm sure they'll be excited once he's back and going.
So interesting when you got a taste of it, how did it affect your mindset? Was it, I know I can play at that level? Like after 7 years of trying to work your way up, was that how it affected your, all right, going into the off season, my goal now is to go up there and never come back or down again?
Yeah, that's exactly what, I got the 9 games. I got called up to San Jose. Didn't play that game. Goligoski was okay. Letang went down that night. So next game I knew I was in the lineup in Boston. That night, Brooks Orpik goes down. So he's out right early in the game. So I'm playing 5D, lots of minutes. And then we had more and more injuries. And I remember the one game against Anaheim because they had Getzlaf, Perry, and I think Penner was their top line. So big guys. They had me and Mark Eaton matched up against them all night because they were more big, physical top line guys. And those 9 games really, okay, I can play here. I'm gonna dial it in this summer, work out, eat right. Cut out the drinking, the beer. There's lots of time now to do that stuff. But really dialed it in and got in the best shape I've ever been in, and went into camp and never turned back.
So you go from playing in Wilkes-Barre to playing against Getzlaf, Perry, Penner.
Yeah, it was a
pretty big jump.
It's a big jump. Yeah, and it's playing with those guys, Mark Eaton, Brooks Orpik. They're so helpful. A lot of other guys there too, but they're just almost like Martinez, just calming. I follow Brooks Orpik because he played the style I wanted to play, big, heavy, hard to play against. So those guys really helped you along the way.
Dave Gosher, Derek Englund with you on Nighttime at Noon here on Fox Sports Las Vegas. Got a full show here today. We're going to get into a little bit of what's going to be an 8-game homestand for the Golden Knights. You've got some players, couple already returned, and Nate Schmidt and Paul Stastny last night. Others to follow later this week. Real busy week for Vegas, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and then the same again next week. We'll start on Sunday, then Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. We mentioned Max Pacioretty out again, Derek. It's, and you hope that, I guess you never want to go through it, right? But maybe if you're going to go through it, you're better to go through it now in the regular season. Here's a guy that misses a month with a broken foot. 5 weeks, whatever it was, 6 weeks, comes back, goes on a tear in the month of December, named the second star of the month by the NHL, and then, jams up his wrist and wrist surgery and out for another stretch of time. I don't know how long he was playing with an injured wrist, but you wouldn't have known it if he was playing with it for a good chunk of time, the tear he was on last month.
Oh, that's it's one of those things that they don't happen very often.
No.
And for him, it's, I don't want to say as an older guy, he's comes back from injury and he knows what he has to do. He's been around long enough. He's one of the best goal scorers in the league over the past decade plus. So for him to come on that tear, it was great to see such a good guy. And the wrist surgery, I'm sure he's frustrated with that and stuff, but he's going to be fresh come playoff time and that stretch leading into playoffs.
He's by all accounts, is a workout freak in a good way, right? Like just, you speak to, you've been around him. He's in the gym all the time and throwing the weights around like it's nothing.
Yeah, he's a pretty well in shape guy. Works out hard in the locker room, does a lot of stuff, trainer stuff, all that stuff to try to keep his body fine tuned. And he's, if you're a young guy coming up, that's a guy you want to mold your off ice activities over and on ice too.
I think Gary Lawless was saying that when Pacioretty was hurt with the foot, we kind of, the way we get down to the media area downstairs, you kind of go by the weight room. It's just, not that you look in there, but it's in your eyesight, And Pacioretty was like on his knees doing like military presses.
Oh, yeah.
That's it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But his ability to, you've had a non-weight bearing injury, couldn't skate for 5 weeks, could not be on the ice, and they work around that, and full credit to the training staff to keep his cardio up. It comes right back and just scores whatever it was, 10 goals last month, not a problem.
Whatever, yeah.
It's now obviously not going to be able to shoot a puck for a little while, but it just seems like he keeps himself in such great shape that, however much time he's going to miss, we'll say, Pete Boer said the other day, you're not going to count on him for at least a month. Maybe they can buy a little bit of time, although I don't think they're going to they might get into it's not the Olympic break anymore, but you know what I mean? Whatever we're calling it.
All-Star break?
A break. The All-Star break.
Long All-Star break?
Yeah, long All-Star break. And maybe they can buy him a little bit of time there, but it's amazing now. They've had so much, I don't know if practice is the word, but experience this year and having to rehab all these guys from injuries that, the fact they were able to, hit the ground running. And they took Mark Stone maybe a few games. Pacioretty really not so much.
No.
Just speaks volumes to the training staff and how good a shape these guys keep themselves in all year round.
Yeah, just the technology that the training staff and the strength staff has now is, like, from when I started, it was you do the testing at the beginning of the year and then, you ride the bike for this amount, lift weights and stuff, but the technology they have on everything now it's crazy to see how far the game's come in just 10, 12 years that I've been playing. And, it's one of those things you work out all summer, you get stronger, you try to get your cardio up, but then you get in a game and you're out of shape. You're not in game shape.
Yeah.
No matter what you do in summer, you're never in game shape. So it's the same thing, I think, when someone's injured. As long as you keep that strength up, it's going to take you a couple games to get back in shape anyways, because you can't simulate.
Yeah.
You can try to work as hard as you can in a game on the ice, but it doesn't translate over.
I guess human nature is your teammates aren't going to go. They're certainly not going to go at you in a one-on-one battle as hard as somebody from the other team. Because I know they try to simulate that, but even that's probably as close as of a simulation as you can get without actually being in a real game, I would think.
Yeah, you're doing a drill in the corner, battle drill in the corner for 15 seconds and then go shoot a puck. But in a game, you're up the ice, you're down the ice, then you're doing that battle, then you're up the ice again. So it's tough to simulate that and keep someone wanting to, you can skate lines all day, but then in 3 days you're going to be like, this sucks. Get me out of here.
This is tiring.
Yeah. So you got to keep some fun and not fun, but interest in
some
that
level
coming
of
out.
enjoyment, right?
Yeah.
Nighttime at noon with Dave Gosher and Derek Englund. Great to have you with us on all of our social media, digital channels, and also on Fox Sports Las Vegas. A reminder about the spectacular Hotel Californian in Santa Barbara, California. It's the newest exciting addition to the Foley Entertainment Group. Experience an extraordinary stay in one of 121 luxurious guest rooms and suites. Taste the region's finest wine at Foley Food and Wine Society Tasting Room, and treat yourself to unparalleled massages as well at Majorelle, the Macaronian-inspired spa, all in the heart of the American Riviera. Designed for domestic and international guests alike, Hotel Californian is the perfect destination for any traveler seeking one-of-a-kind luxury experiences. Hotel Californian is Santa Barbara's premier urban destination. Visit hotelcalifornian.com to book your stay today. Lots more to come on Nighttime at noon. As we said, we're going to take a peek ahead to what's coming up for the Golden Knights this week with some very familiar faces that have already returned, with more to come over the next few games. That's after this on Fox Sports Las Vegas. That is Golden Knights head coach Pete DeBoer. His comments after last night's overtime loss, 5-4 to the Winnipeg Jets. We talked about it on TV, Derek. Entertainment factor was pretty darn high in that game. What were some of your takeaways as you watched the Golden Knights get a point out of the game last night?
Exactly what Pete said. The first period I thought dominated. They 20-plus shots in the first. They were 45 shots into the third, or 40 shots just into the third period. So
yeah.
They had a lot of shots on goal. And then to come back from a team like Winnipeg, Hellebuck in net, they did it the right way. You got to get traffic in front of him so he can't see and get pucks there. So to answer, come back from a 4-2 game with 10 minutes to go, that's huge. And, you hope you can squeak that out in overtime, but it's another good team, highly offensive team that you're going against.
So they had been, I don't want to say they were due for an overtime loss. They had won 14 in a row in overtime. Games decided in overtime. So the only game they had this year that was decided in overtime was the game in Dallas where Marchessault scored late and then Dadonov scored in overtime,
yeah.
right? But this is going back to through last year, and it's got to be even the season before. I think they were 9-0 last year. So 14 in a row in the in games decided in the 3-on-3. Pete DeBoer also said after the game last night, I think it was a little bit of frustration. I think his sense, or the sense you got, was if you score 4 on Hellebuck, you should win. So I wonder if it's a little bit of a mixed bag. Happy to get a point, but I wonder if if they were being completely honest, they felt maybe they deserved a little bit better when you score 4 against a goalie of that caliber.
Yeah, you score 4 against him. He's one of the top goalies in the league, and but like I said earlier, I think they're probably wanting to clean up defensively a little more. Maybe that 10 feet around the net, clearing that out a little better. The power play goal. I thought, you gotta get the puck or get a guy out of there, and that's stuff that's easily cleaned up. Just win those battles in that 10 foot around the net, and like I said, you get Marty back, and I think it's a big boost for them defensively.
The starts they've had at home over the last 3 games, so Tampa before the Christmas break, and then the game against Anaheim on New Year's Eve and last night, 52-19. I'm sorry, my math here. Hold on. Do you have an eraser? 55-19. They've outshot teams in the first period of the last 3 home games, and just stormed Tampa, stormed Anaheim. Same thing with Winnipeg last night. I think Pete's right. I don't know if they could have played much better than they did in the first period. To your point, cleaning it up defensively, like turnover on the first Winnipeg goal, turnover on the second Winnipeg goal, and it's a team that I think you felt like they're going to be pissed after a first period like that, where they just got kind of got steamrolled over. And come right back to, there's a lot of, you look at high, and it's interesting. You talk about depth scoring. It was Harkins and Reichel that scored the first 2 goals for Winnipeg last night, and then you get some of the other guys involved with Stastny and Kopp, and eventually Connor in overtime. But, the Golden Knights have, trying to build some momentum here at home. They've come out with, you were part of that first year. The first periods, I didn't say it last night on TV. I kind of thought about it, though. It was reminiscent of some of the first periods you guys had that first year at home, where you just came out and it was just wave after wave after wave, and the other team didn't have much of an answer for it.
Yeah, the relentless hockey. It's it's like you said, it goes back to that first year, kind of similar to that. But sometimes you come out in the second, and I don't want to say you take the foot off the gas a little bit. You might do that, which makes the other team look like they're pushing back a lot harder than they are. You may be just giving them a little bit more momentum, and then it's tough to get that back against a good team. They're a good team with a lot of talent over there. So, like you said, the first 2 goals are turnovers, which you don't want that team. You don't want to be turning the puck over against that team. They're dangerous. So, just little things that they need to clean up, and at least it's not anything crazy that they have to fix.
Hard to keep that pace up, I would imagine, for 60 minutes when you play that well the first 20. Like the guy that I sit next to during the games always says, the other team's going to have pieces of the game too. They're going to respond, which obviously Winnipeg did last night. A couple of updates from Pete DeBoer. Just had his press availability here at City National Arena. So updates in terms of the Golden Knights injuries. Mark Stone and Robin Lehner remain day-to-day, but doubtful for tomorrow night when the Golden Knights take on the Nashville Predators. Nick Hague has a wrist problem, and he's still day-to-day as well. So we'll see if Nick is able to return here in the not-too-distant future. You know, you look back at that road trip. He played the first 3 games of that trip. Actually played the entire trip. Played the entire trip east. Came home, didn't play the game against Tampa before Christmas. Did play in L.A. after Christmas, and then obviously has not played the last couple of games. They've had Ben Hutton mostly, paired up with Alex Pietrangelo. So, so we'll see. They haven't had the number one goalie here in the last 4 games in Robin Lehner. Lauren Brossois has been in there. And, I'm sure Pete has had his fill. We're barely into the new year, but it's been talking about injuries the whole season, between injuries and COVID. Like, enough already, Uncle.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things that just keeps going, and there's no end in sight. Hopefully, this is it for them. But it's it's tough not to. You hear one of the updates, and it's tough. When you're in the locker room and stuff, not to like almost laugh about it.
Yeah,
because it's just. Holy, it's just, getting old, like you said.
Here we go again.
Yeah.
Want to touch on before we go to break. So last night, real nice job by the Golden Knights and their production staff. Nice little tribute to Nate Schmidt and to Paul Stastny. They had not been back to play against the Golden Knights since they were traded. Of course, Schmidt went to Vancouver, eventually ends up in Winnipeg, and Paul Stastny went back to Winnipeg from the Golden Knights. Tomorrow, Nashville Predators here. And then later on this week, you got the New York Rangers with Gerard Gallant, Mike Kelly, and Ryan Reeves. And then who's the goalie for Chicago? you got Marc-Andre Fleury coming here on Saturday. It's going to be a special week. It was good to see Stastny and Schmidt in the building last night. And, you talk about Pete, I think, put it well. I mean, some of the men, you were part of that group, for the first several seasons, of guys that helped form the identity of this franchise from the ground up. It'll be pretty special to see those guys back here, as we go through these games this week.
Yeah, I don't know who was doing the scheduling to put them all in the same week. There's it's pretty crazy to get it all. I guess pack it all in and get it over with. But to see the tribute to Schmitty and Stas was huge. And you zoom in on Schmitty and he's grinning ear to ear. So
isn't that many? Did have any bad days here? I mean, they're very few.
Very, very few.
But
he was still happier than anyone else in the room on his bad day. So, and then Turk and Revo is going to be, a special one, and then you end it with Flower, and so it's going to be a good week for fans, and excited to see the tributes to them.
Gerard Gallant, his ability, especially that first year here, the most successful expansion team in the history of sports. He's had great success in New York here so far in the first season with the Rangers. What's it like to play for him? What's the impact he has, and especially in that first year with the Golden Knights? Or we've seen similar results here. Long way to go with the Rangers, but so far they've had a real good year.
Yeah, it was great playing for him. He's hard, but he's he gets what he wants out of the guys. But respect him. He may yell at you, but you're going back out next shift, and that's how you get better. Some criticism, okay, I got to be better out on the ice, and he's going to put you right back out. It's not like you're sitting there for a period. I've had that before, where you get benched for an entire period. He's not that. He's going to let you know, and you're back out there, and you just don't do it again. But he was great to play for. When I heard he got the job in New York, I thought it was a great fit for him with that team. It's a young team with a lot of high-end talent, so it's just good seeing them, and Revo too. They're doing well. Yeah,
the Golden Knights had a heck of a game against the Rangers at Madison Square Garden just on that trip back east not long ago. The Rangers coming into today's action, 21-8-4, right there among the top teams. Just a couple of points off the top spot in the Eastern Conference. Of course, the Golden Knights, they lead the West at 45 points. Now, they've played, along with Anaheim, the most games in the league. There's a lot of teams that are going to have some catching up to do. We're going to kind of get into that and some other things as we move forward here, including the Winter Classic. That looked like a toasty night in Minnesota, to say the least. Looked like it was about 100 below. But we'll get into that. Lots more before we go to break. Golden Knights fans, if you need more hockey, make sure to check out the newest team in town, the Henderson Silver Knights of the American Hockey League. Single game, group, and mini suite tickets for home games throughout the entire 21-22 season are on sale now. Contact the Henderson Silver Knights ticketing team at 702-645-4259, or you can always go online to hendersonsilverknights.com to find out more. Dave Gosher, Derek Englund with you. Nighttime at noon. More to come in a moment on Fox Sports Las Vegas. That is the voice of Matthias Janmark, who has really picked it up here for the Golden Knights lately, up to 6 goals on the season. Goals in 3 in a row for the first time as a member of the Golden Knights, and he also ties a career high. Did it once with Dallas and once with Chicago, and had 2 big goals last night. Had the goal that made it 4-3. Took the puck away from Dylan DeMello. Beautiful finish upstairs on Connor Hellebuck. And then with the goaltender pulled, shot comes in from the point from Shea Theodore. It was kind of a double deflection. I wasn't sure if Watt tipped it or Patrick tipped it. So here's what you do, Derek, if you're in that boat, if you do what I do. You just throw out both names just to cover your own backside. The guy I didn't mention was Janmark, and sure as heck it hit him in the skate. So it was like a double tip, right? It hit Watt, hit Janmark in the skate. But, he's a guy, we kind of talked earlier about when you can't get around, you're missing your two most dangerous forwards, I guess, right, in Stone and Pacioretty right now. Other guys have had to jump in, fill that void. But Janmark last night with two big goals, including the 4-3 goal and the 4-4 goal.
Yeah, he said the DeMello goal, it's good. He just out-muscled them, got the puck, and the great finish. And then the game-tying goal, it's, all three of those guys are trying to get to the dirty area, and they get rewarded. Wazzy tips it. He's right in front of Hellebuck. Janmark's just off the side, ends up going off him, and it's one of those goals that they're getting rewarded for going to the net and trying to stay there. So
Matthias Janmark, a couple of big goals last night. They managed to squeeze out a point in that game against the Winnipeg Jets. So, we mentioned, Derek, that, right now the Golden Knights are in a good spot. Look, especially with everything they've gone through, be it injuries, COVID. They sit right now atop the Western Conference with 45 points. St. Louis, a couple points back with 2 games in hand. Nashville, 2 games in hand, 3 points back. Big game against the Predators tomorrow night. The team that I kind of keep an eye on is Colorado, right? They hadn't played in 17 days. Had 7 games postponed. 7 games postponed. Came back yesterday and picked up a win against Nashville, if I'm not mistaken. So, they're a little ways back. They're 7 back of the Golden Knights. They have 7 games at hand on Vegas. So, I don't know how this is all going to sort itself out. You were saying earlier, and I just saw it on the Twitters, Ottawa had another game postponed here today. So, these Canadian teams are trying. They can't get into a situation again where they're playing. Somebody told me that right now the maximum crowd you can have in Manitoba is 250 people. Well, the Jets can't play a game. You can't do that again. Montreal had to do it, right? They played a game in front of no crowd at the Bell Center. So it's somebody's job, thankfully not ours, to try to figure out what they're going to do with all this. But Pete DeBoer mentioned this. As great as where they are in the standings, the Golden Knights are right now through 35 games, I don't think they're getting too preoccupied with that. They know teams like Colorado and others have some games to make up. And, I know they focused on themselves, but there's some teams that are going to be nipping on their heels here in the not-too-distant future.
Yeah, you try not to watch that too much, but like you said, you're gonna watch them. Calgary's got, I think, 5 games in hand, and they're 5 points back. So those are going to be you haven't played them in a while, so those games are going to be huge. They're big 4-point games, and those are the games that they need to win to keep that gap, that distance between them. So those are going to be highly sought-after games to watch.
Did you look at the standings regularly as a player, or did you let somebody else tell you where the team was at? Or did you kind of have a sense?
I knew where I was. If I looked at the standings, I was looking elsewhere. You'd still look at our division stuff, but you knew where you were. But it's like Revo's gone, so I'm flipping to see how New York's doing, or Holden. Those guys, the buddies of yours, or Pittsburgh. See how they're doing. You keep on that, but you know where you're at. But you're still looking. I think I did, anyways.
So Winter Classic the other night in Minnesota between the Wild and the St. Louis Blues. How much of it did you see?
I didn't. I was stuck on the side of the road because my Jeep blew an axle and
what?
It started on fire. So,
well, your Jeep caught on fire?
Well, my front axle, heated up so much it snapped going down the freeway, and I pulled over, and I climbed under to see what was wrong. My front axle was snapped, and then I seen glowing right by the gas tank. So I'm like screaming at my neighbor, "Get my kids out of the car!"
Yeah.
And took some water bottles, got the fire out, and then I sat on the side of the road while he dropped his trailer off, came back to get mine, and then I had to wait for the tow truck. So I didn't get to watch any of it, but it looked chilly.
Well, I was going to say, it sounds like you didn't have a lot of fun. The people at this game, I don't think, had a lot of fun either. But so wait a minute. So you were on the highway? We were like on the 215?
95.
On 95.
Yeah, up by Lee Canyon Road.
And so where's the Jeep now?
It's at Desert 215, getting looked at right
fixed
now.
Up. Thank you to the people at Desert 215. Yes. Let's have that done by the close of business today. Yeah. So Tell me about your outdoor game experience in the past.
I've had,
What's that been like?
Two.
Yeah.
Well, Winter Classic one in Pittsburgh against Washington.
At Heinz Field?
At Heinz Field.
Okay.
It was the day before, day after were perfect. The day of, it was raining. It was still, the experience is amazing. The day before, skating with your family and stuff and practicing out there, it's amazing. It was a little wet out there. You didn't want to fall because you'd be soaked. But then I played the Stadium Series in Chicago at Soldier Stadium, and that was freezing and snowing. It was almost, not blizzard, but they had to get extra people out there to push snow every whistle. Like, it was piling up that much. So it was, the experience is just out of this world, though.
So the Heinz Field one, do I remember right? Did you guys have to push back the start of that game because of the rain, like to the night, to the evening?
Yeah, they pushed it back. It was supposed to be in the afternoon.
Yeah.
They pushed it back later.
Yeah. So what's worse, the rain or the snow? What's more of a pain if you're a player to deal with out there?
I think experience-wise, you want the snow. Like, that's what you're playing outdoors for. You want the snow, you want the cold. The rain was just, you'd pass the puck and there'd be a roost of water spraying up. It's spraying you,
Yeah.
You go to slap your stick around, you're spraying everyone. It was still cool, don't get me wrong, and all that. It was a great experience, but the snow factor, it brings you back to as a kid on the lake and, out there freezing cold, and that's kind of what you want the experience to be like.
So the game at Soldier Field, did you ever get warm? You said it was freezing. Could you ever get warm?
Oh, yeah. So on the bench, they had those heaters coming into the middle of the bench. I played forward this game too. So it came in the middle of the bench and then dispersed out to the sides. So if you come on the bench, your butt would be cold, you'd be freezing, and then the closer you got to the middle, you couldn't sit because it was so hot. So you'd inching down, and then it'd start burning, so you'd have to stand up, and then you get cold, sit down. And I played forward, so I probably only played like 8 minutes, so I sat in the middle of the bench a lot.
Strategically placed your rear end.
Tried to sit there.
Yeah. So this, obviously, anyone who saw this game the other night, in Minneapolis at Target Field, home of the Twins, 10 below. And that was like straight 10 below. Wind chill, I think, was was worse. Third coldest outdoor sporting event in U.S. history. So the first one would be, I remember seeing film of this, the Ice Bowl back in 1967 between the Packers and the Cowboys. Freezing cold. Before the Super Bowl. The Packers beat the Cowboys. And then I remember this vaguely as a kid. It was like in 1982. AFC Championship game was in Cincinnati. The San Diego Chargers played in Cincinnati, and it was just frigid cold. So those two were 1 and 2. A side note, the Chargers had played the week before down in Miami.
It's a big change.
So they live in San Diego. They go play the Dolphins. Kellen Winslow, they had to help him off the field. He was exhausted after the game. And then the next week they go to Cincinnati and freeze their asses off.
Jesus.
And anyway, 10 below zero in Minneapolis the other night. When I was saying I had and my wife and some friends from Southern California over, and we're watching the game, and I said, I'll tell you what, it gets to 6-2 for the Blues after the second period. I'm out of there. There's no way. I know they made it close, but that's very cold. I don't need that.
That's
very chilly.
Uncomfortable for sure. Didn't Edmonton have an outdoor game?
Yeah.
It was really cold.
So you made me think of this. So Claude Julien was coaching. It was Montreal at Edmonton.
Yeah.
At the CFL stadium for the Edmonton football team, right?
The Elks now.
Yes,
Elks,
exactly, the Elks. Yes. So the story I had heard was similar to what you said. They have the heaters on the bench. So Claude Julien told me this story during his time in Boston. I forget the clothing company in Canada. They outfit all the coaches with the warm coats and the winter boots. And after the first period, he was so hot. He gave his boots and his jacket to Bob Gainey, who was the GM of the Canadiens at the time. Everyone else is freezing to death in the stands. But the coaches and the fourth-line right wing, like you, were probably very toasty.
Oh, yeah, nice and toasty in the middle of the bench.
I had two of them. Before we go to break, I called two in Boston. One was at Fenway Park, which was great. The Bruins beat the Flyers in overtime. Marco Sturm, assistant coach for the Kings, scored in overtime to win the game at Fenway. That was cool. The other one was at Gillette Stadium, Bruins Canadiens in 2016. That was not so cool. The Bruins lost 5-1. It might have been the worst game they played all year. And they were down like 3-0 quick. And then I remember thinking, there's 68,000 people at the game.
Yeah.
It's going to suck if they don't score. You're not going to hear the roar of the crowd. I thought the same thing in the game at Fenway. Bruins were down 1-0. Mark Recchi scored a power play goal with 2.5 minutes left to tie the game. But I remember thinking, like, this is not going to be fun if you can't hear all these people roaring, But, yeah, it's pretty cool. But in both scenarios, the one at Fenway, it was cloudy, but it was perfect, like 32 degrees.
Oh, yeah.
The one at Gillette was good, too, weather-wise. But, yeah, it's I just can't, I guess you'd find ways to stay warm when it's 10 below.
Try to.
But, man.
I don't know, but I watched the Packers game last night a little bit.
Yeah.
People out there in their T-shirts.
Yeah,
I'm like, that's another. I can't do that anymore.
I know. Well, and before we go to I know you had vehicle trouble.
Yeah.
Did you see the highlights of how the Blues arrived at the game?
No, I didn't.
Shorts and T-shirts. They get off the bus, right? And this is the old mind over matter, I guess. If it doesn't, if it doesn't mind, if you don't mind, it doesn't matter. They came off the bus in shorts, T-shirts, and flip-flops to walk into that place where it was 10 below zero.
Jeez.
I think just maybe trying to play the old Jedi mind trick. Get over it. It's unbelievable. Yeah, but anyway, it was a heck of a job. It looked great on TV, even if everyone was freezing cold, and a big win for the St. Louis Blues, so over the Minnesota Wild. It's nighttime at noon with Dave Gosher and Derek Englund. A reminder for you folks that be one of the first to join the Vegas Nighthawks family. Secure your seat location priority today by placing a refundable $20 deposit at Nighthawks Football. That's nighthawksfootball.com. Full season membership will start at just $10 per ticket per game at the brand new Dollar Loan Center located in Henderson. Rolling right along at nighttime at noon. We'll have one final segment coming up after this on Fox Sports Las Vegas. That's the voice of Dan Duba. Just a couple of games in COVID protocol. Good to have the radio voice of the Golden Knights back in the booth last night. He and the TV play-by-play guy both didn't have the tying goal right, so at least we're both wrong. But, misery loves company. We both did not see it in real time. It's tough to see it going off the skate of the end mark. But good to have Dan back last night. So we just kind of now my OCD kicks in. So how cold was it for the Ice Bowl between the Packers and the Cowboys? New Year's Day, 1967, with wind chill at Lambeau Field. 38 below zero. There's not enough money on earth to go to that game. But it was packed.
That's where it meets. Canadian, 40 below.
It's about, where it's
below meets.
40 below is 40 below.
Yeah.
Cold,
That's
no matter
great.
how
That's
you
cold,
cut
yeah.
it. The Heritage Classics, the one that we were talking about in Edmonton, Commonwealth Stadium. 57,000 people went to this thing between the Canadians and the Oilers with wind chill 22 below Fahrenheit. That's no way.
Nope.
No, can't do it. I lived most of my life in the Northeast, and it didn't take long for the blood to thin right out. Now it gets chilly around here. I didn't move west for this crap.
But the desert cold is it's cold.
Yes.
It's you sound like you're
A wuss.
Yeah, I was going to think of worse words to say, but it's almost you go back to a snow place and doesn't feel as cold. Maybe
Yep.
your body adapts right away, but that the desert cold, as soon as that sun starts going down behind the mountains, it gets chilly, I think.
And you tell people from back east or from Canada, like, oh, it gets cold in the desert in the winter, and they're like, there's not a chance you're right.
Yeah.
Well, not making it up,
Yeah.
I will tell you, it was funny. A couple of years ago, we had a trip to, kind of a similar trip we just made, Boston and New York. And we had a day in Boston, and it was, the usual crew on the road, myself, Shane, Gary, I think Dan was there as well. So we had, we might have an occasional beverage on the road from time to time. So we were out at this place we stayed at the Ritz, beautiful Ritz Hotel in Boston. So we're at a little place right near Boston Common, and it wasn't that late. It was like midnight. We're going back to the hotel, and God, it had to be 15 below with the wind chill. It was like middle of January or late January.
Yeah.
And here's me, who spent 17 years in Boston and another 4 going to college in Boston. And I remember yelling on the way back to the hotel as we were like basically jogging back, who the hell would ever live here? Well, me, knucklehead, who spent most of my life there. But yeah, you're right. It's and I think it's too bad. I was having this conversation with somebody the other day, Derek, and I'm sure there's reasons they put a dome on Allegiant Stadium. I think it would just be awesome to have an outdoor game here. But they can't do it because they got a dome. Unless they could maybe remove the roof. I don't know, get the screwdriver out and take the roof off.
Might be a little work.
Yeah, but I think the Golden, you're talking about one of the marquee franchises in the league. I think that'd be, I know they played in the Heritage, not the outdoor game, the Tahoe game last year, but boy, you think they would just be, as popular as this franchise is league-wide, they would just be earmarked for a Winter Classic somewhere. Not going to be here, obviously, but unless they figured something out. But it's great to see it back, right? Because last year and COVID and all that crap, and they couldn't do it. So
it's such a good experience.
It's awesome,
for the players,
right?
the families, and the fans.
Yeah, and you mentioned you're able to have your family there. You skate the day before. Were you able to do that in Chicago too? Were people able to travel at Soldier Field?
Yeah, you could.
Same thing.
Yeah, same thing.
It's especially with everything. We had the World Junior Championships canceled and games are being postponed left and right. It was great to see that come off without a hitch, despite it being pretty darn cold the other day. Hey, one other thing we wanted to mention, and I think some of you probably saw this story. So Brian Hamilton and Nadia Popovici, I think is how you say this woman's name. Short version of a long story. Home opener for the Seattle Kraken back in October. Vancouver's in town. And the assistant equipment manager for the Canucks is Brian Hamilton. So Nadia is at the game. She's attending the game in Seattle, but she's also in medical school. She's a medical student. She's trying to get Brian Hamilton's attention the entire game for a specific reason. He had a mole on the back of his neck that she looked at with her just naked eye and could tell it was cancerous. Finally got his attention and told him that. I've never heard this before, of a fan being at a game and obviously being close enough to the bench and seeing this mole. Sure enough, gets his attention. he gets it checked out, and it's cancerous. Can you imagine if, that she never was able to get his attention? So anyway, they had a great reunion over the weekend, and the Kraken and the Canucks put together $10,000 towards her medical student bills, which I'm sure are not cheap. So
yeah,
that's awesome.
That's amazing that she was persistent about getting his attention, because just think how many people see something and don't sit, with everything. But for her to stay on that and eventually get his attention and do that, that's it's an amazing story.
You think if you're the assistant equipment guy, and not for nothing, at a game you're pretty focused, right? Those guys have to be right on task, and you've got this woman kind of trying to get your attention the whole game. You probably, I would guess, hey, don't bother me. I'm working here.
Yeah, you're used to it. There's just fans banging on the glass.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
Probably thinking the same thing, but
thankfully she was persistent, and a happy ending to a story, which seems like we don't get enough of that these days over the last couple of years. This has been fun, Derek. So homestand's going to be an 8-gamer now for the Golden Knights, and hopefully they can start to get some guys healthy here in the not too distant future. But they've done a remarkable job here through 35 games to be where they're at, to say the least.
Yeah, I think like I said, I was hoping by Christmas 500, and by All-Star break they're going. So to be this many games over 500 already, it's kudos to them.
Yeah, 10 over 500 for the Golden Knights so far this year. 22-12-1. They sit atop the Western Conference. Thanks for tuning in. Of course, we'll have all the action for you on radio and TV tomorrow night. The Golden Knights and the Nashville Predators. Tune in. That'll do it on this edition of Nighttime at Noon on Fox Sports Las Vegas.